Hello and welcome to Find Your Lady Tribe.
So, have you ever shared something with a friend in confidence and then later found out that she betrayed your trust? I think it's happened to the best of us, and sometimes that puts us in a position of not wanting to go there again. Been
Yes.
there, done that, got hurt, not going back,
Right?
right? Well, today we're going to talk about a strategy to help you maneuver through that so that you can safely share with a trusted friend, knowing that she's got your back.
I love that.
So stay tuned. Welcome to Find Your Lady Tribe. I am your host, Brenda Ridgely, author, speaker, and midlife women's coach. This season is dedicated to your midlife mindset, so be sure to subscribe now to be notified of a new episode each week. I am honored to be joined this season by co-host Tresson Bryant of Love and Life Coaching. She is a mindset, trauma, and relationship expert. Join our inner circle to be the first to know about retreats, workshops, events, and receive tribe building tips. Go to tinyurl.com/Find Your Lady Tribe to join. Are you ready? Let's go. We're back.
Hi.
So, when you are entering into a new relationship with a friend, and it's kind of making steps and progress in the right direction towards, hey, this could be a member of my tribe. But gosh, I've been hurt before, and I'm afraid to kind of let it all out there. I'm afraid to share my heart and my worst fears and my, the things that are scaring me right now, and maybe things that I'm a little ashamed of or I feel like failures, and I just don't know if I really trust this person enough to go there, but I'd like to.
Right.
There's something that I like to share with my coaching clients called an upfront contract.
Oh, okay. Well, what is an upfront contract? How does that work?
Well, basically, it is kind of setting the stage for you and a new friendship to kind of set some ground rules. And of course, this is something you want to kind of do when things are going good,
Yeah.
But it's kind of planning for when things maybe aren't going good. And maybe it's not just about sharing secrets or, sharing what's on your heart, but maybe it's sharing, noticing something in the other that kind of concerns you. All these things, when friendships kind of start getting on shaky ground because something came up or you didn't quite see things the same way, and you just don't know how to navigate that just right out of the get-go. Have you ever had any situations like that come to mind?
Yeah, I think I think that could be with any relationship, but friendships are a little bit different because you you want to be you're trying to be careful and really loving of your friend.
Right. Well,
And so,
you're right.
you kind of maybe withhold or hold back. And I think that what you're sharing with us is great. I want to know more about this.
Right. Well, so
So,
you said something interesting there is that friendships are different, right?
they
And
are.
they're different because we aren't bound by anything other than the fact that we really like each other,
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
really care about each other. We even love each other.
Yes.
But we don't have any vows that we've exchanged.
Yeah.
We are under no contract of any sorts. We don't have any blood ties.
Right.
So the only ties that bind our friendship are the ones that we choose.
Right.
And what happens a lot of times is, when you are building deep connections over time with other friendships, things are going to come up, and
Sure.
and things are going to come up that maybe, again, you don't see things the same way. You may say something that kind of hurts my feelings or makes me angry, and we don't know what to do with that sometimes because you don't want to hurt the friendship, but you just don't know where to go with that, and it just gets to be really shaky territory because we really want a friendship that we can be completely 100% honest and vulnerable with, right?
Yes. And be yourself.
Right.
Yes.
And be yourself. So what happens is a lot of times we inadvertently start pulling apart because, gosh, especially if it's something where someone really upset me. If you really upset me, it makes it really hard. Sometimes it feels easier to, like, screw it, I'm out of here, right?
Yeah.
And that's the reason a lot of people don't have long friendships, is because they're just so easy to just move on because, oh, I guess, things aren't that great anymore. And you have to, if you really, really want to build a lifelong friendship or, a tribe level relationship with someone, you have to kind of make a commitment, a
Sure.
verbal commitment that when it gets hard, you're important enough to me that we're going to talk about it. And it won't be easy. Maybe you'll need a little bit of time. Maybe I will, whatever.
Yeah.
But you're important enough to me that I am going to do the work.
Yeah, I love that.
So the upfront contract basically is something that you talk about when things are going great.
Yeah, that's a good time for that.
When things are going well and gosh, I love you so much. And things, you can't even imagine. I mean, how many friends have you had that you've said, oh, you're always going to be like this? You just feel that bond and connection, and life happens, and then go, whoa, what just happened? But so when your things are going well, you want to kind of sit down and have this serious conversation and say, you know what? I care about you so much. I love the direction of our friendship, and I really feel like I can count on you, and I really feel like you have my back. And I really feel, you just express yourself what not only you're feeling, but kind of what you want in the relationship.
Sure.
What is it that your best friend feels for you, and put it out there. This is what I'm looking for, that if as we continue, and are we on the same page? Am I feeling it? Am I feeling that we're are you with me here?
I'm so with you.
And you can have a really lighthearted and fun conversation about it, but kind of just setting your own ground rules for what is important to you and what's going to happen when that episode in your life happens, when you guys don't see eye to eye and it hurts.
I love it. I really love it. And what I love about it is that I think the reason why you would do that is because you really care. And it's kind of a two-way thing that you're showing concern and care for. One of them is yourself.
Right.
You're allowing yourself to be vulnerable with your friend, but the other one is that you care about your friend.
Right.
So I love the idea of this. I love the idea that you're talking to each other and saying, hey, this may come up. How do we feel like we want to handle it is really what I'm gathering from this. Right,
absolutely. Something that you can't even put a finger on right now. You have no idea. It's totally something that you can't explain it. But something's going to happen, because just like with your spouse or your partner, those arguments, but you're stuck. You're stuck there. You kind of have to work through it, or at least to a certain extent, you really have to do some work, right? Yeah. And you just want to have the conversation that you are important enough to me that I want to do the work too. And so let's set some ground rules for if I really upset you or you really upset me, what do we want to do about it? What are our steps?
What about, Brenda, what if you were to say, do you remember the conversation that we had about us being able to trust each other enough to say something hard to one another?
Right.
I feel like this might be one of those moments.
Yes.
Like, and
right.
Remember our agreement.
Right.
That we're going to love each other through this moment, maybe, type of thing. Would be what I might want someone to say to me if we had this agreement, right?
Right.
So I'm giving you permission to say that to me
if
something comes up.
Thanks, Tress. Hopefully you don't need it too soon, but one day.
Exactly. I love it.
So whether it be just reiterating that, you remember when we said this, or just saying a keyword, a safe word, whatever it is, but just kind of, okay, here we go. And, again, prefacing it, I love you enough to share this with you.
Yeah.
Even with that being said, things probably aren't going to be like perfectly planned out and just go well. You may need time and space.
Sure. And
that's okay. But it's just that agreement that when the going gets tough, I'm not ditching you. We're in it together, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's beautiful, I think. I love that. What a kind thing to do for a friend.
Another thing, when you are sharing something that is really tender for you, a fear or something like, again, that you just are ashamed of, or something that you really, it's not enough to just say, hey, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
You want to say, okay, this is one of those things that I'm really afraid to share.
Yeah.
Just being completely honest and vulnerable and saying, and honestly, it wouldn't be a bad idea to say, I want to share something on my heart that's really, really hard for me right now, and it has to be kept between us. Is it okay if I tell you?
I love that. I love the asking for permission.
Right.
You know what? That gives the person the opportunity to say, you know what? I don't know if I'm ready for that at this
Yes.
moment.
Yeah.
I love the asking for permission. That's beautiful.
Right. And if you're on the receiving end of that, you can ask some questions like, does that mean I can't tell my partner? Or does that mean I just can't tell Susie? Or that
Right.
means, and do I have to keep this secret forever? Or is it just like, is this a
Right.
passing thing? Do I have to go to my grave with it? You can kind of go,
Yeah.
okay, tell me.
Yeah.
Of course we want to support our friend. But
And what a cool conversation if you went some of those directions.
right.
I mean, really, how deep are our conversations sometimes with people these days? And one of the things I love about what you're bringing up with this whole agreement is that it's really, I feel like it would deepen a relationship right away
Right.
with some of the questions that get asked.
Yeah.
If you approached me with that, I would just be like, wow, okay, this is cool. Let's go there.
Absolutely.
I like it.
I do too. And it's not
Mhm.
really practiced enough. So I'm really encouraging more practicing.
Yeah. I have not had a person do this with me.
But in 5 minutes or so, let's
figure
chat.
it out. I think it's so cool. So Brenda, just a question that I would have for you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get started on the right foot? Like, what if you're already in your relationship and maybe you haven't had a conversation like this, or maybe you've had a conflict in the past that didn't go so great and you never really kind of settled things, or if at what point do you start this? Do you have a set of guidelines?
Mm-hmm.
How does one just go about bringing this topic up to a friend?
Right. Well, that's a great question. So the upfront contract has basically a 5-step process, and it's very simple. First of all, you want to explain the purpose of getting together and having this conversation. And again, do it when things are going well. And I love that you brought up, maybe something's maybe you have a friend already that you'd like to do this with, but you've been friends for years and you've had some peaks and valleys, as we all will.
Sure.
It's not too late. If you're on good terms now, it's a great time to kick off the upfront contract conversation. Again, sitting down with a purpose and just saying, we want to just establish some ground rules, because as much as I love you and I always have so much fun with you and I can't imagine us having a disagreement ever, well, you're going to be that important in my life that we probably, living our lives together, we will have some things that we don't agree on. And let's talk about how we're going to address that when it does happen.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah.
The second thing is you're going to want to really maybe start by asking them what they would like to have out of the friendship. What kind of vulnerability one day they would like to be able to feel comfortable with, and what they would like you to do with that, and when they shared something, what they would like to expect from you.
I love that.
And then you really know. It's really important that you ask the question and just not make assumptions that they want what you want.
Sure, absolutely. Then it's two people there, right?
Right.
Yeah, everyone's being heard. I love that.
Right. So yeah, don't make the assumptions. Ask them first. What is it? If something were to come up, we disagreed, or I upset you, or you have whatever. How would you like us to proceed, and what would that look like for you? And then when they've shared, you get to share what is important to you. And you might want to sit down and take some time and think about this before the conversation. And, really what would it mean to have a person you could confide in that felt completely safe? And what would that mean? And what would that look like if you told them something that was kind of,
Sure.
What should they do? What should they do if they're really worried about you? What should they do if they disagree with you? And you spell it out and say, I'd like to be treated like this, or it's really important that you just not come at me, and let's have a safe word, or remember, or bring up the conversation. But you spell it out what that looks like for you, that would feel like the safest and most loving environment for that kind of feedback.
Very respectful way to do it. We all came from different backgrounds, and we grew up with different types of communication.
Yep.
And this is just making me think about that, not assuming that the other person would speak even quietly, or maybe you just don't know what that would be like. So
Right.
it gives you an opportunity actually to know the person more and their communication style. And
Right.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. And this is not really one of the keys, but I always suggest talking about using I statements
Sure.
instead of, and that what that looks like really, if you're not familiar, is instead of you did this, that immediately puts people on the what did I do? What did I do? And then defensive, and then blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
How do I get shuffle out of this?
Yeah.
But using an I statement, I feel blank when this happened, or because no one can argue with your feelings. If you say you did this, they can say, no, I didn't, or no, I didn't see it that way. But if you said, I felt this when this happened and I didn't like it, that's a really great place to start with a controversial conversation.
Sure.
Okay. So they've shared what they would like to see. You've shared what would be important to you, your expectations. How long should we sit down and have this conversation? Should we do it just as we're, in passing? Should we do it by text? What do you think?
Yeah, no way. No way. I think that would be the hardest thing to figure out. I think it just takes time, just like we are now, to sit down with one another. Maybe go have lunch or something like that, where you don't feel pressured for time limits or anything like that, and you really can have the time to talk.
Right. Somewhere without a lot of distractions. Eating out and having coffee is great, as long as you're not going to bump into people maybe that you might know, because you want it to be really eyeball to eyeball, just really intimate conversation. So you want to plan a time when you can have 30 minutes minimum to have this conversation, if not longer, and just really, really make it important.
Yeah.
And then, the outcome, right? What should you expect when it's all said and done and you've had this conversation and you have this in place? You just probably have that sense of safety that you had never had before. You have identified the fears that you have about going deep with this other person, and maybe even sharing this in your get together, what some of your past experiences of sharing things and how it went wrong and why that makes you feel wonky about doing it again, and just kind of putting your heart out there. It's a dance. It should be coming, ebb and flow, share for share and feeling for feeling. And when that's happening, you know that this is actually working. The friendship is kind of going in the right direction. That they want what you want, and it's just a great platform of support to go move forward with.
Yeah, I love it. I don't see how anybody could walk away from it not feeling cared for.
Right.
Hey, I care about this friendship enough that I would love to make a harder time a little easier on the two of us if that day should ever show up.
Right.
I love that.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, this is not easy. I teach this stuff, but it has happened to me in my own tribe where we've had, things that didn't feel right happen and go the wrong way, and misunderstandings, and I had to remind myself that this is who I am, and this is what I teach, and I need to follow through on it. So I'm just saying that to say that when it's hard, it's okay. It's okay. And if you need to take some time to reflect, and even tell your friend if you have a situation come up and you just really aren't ready to even go there because it was that difficult for you, it's okay to take a break of sorts, but communicate. Don't just ghost your friend, right? Yeah. That's the worst thing you can do, is because maybe they don't even know that there was any issue, but just say, hey, I'm trying to just kind of figure this out myself in my head of how I feel about this, and you are really important to me. I love you, but I can't really go there right now. Can we get together in like a week or even a month?
I love that. I love that. I used to use that phrase with the kids, where I would say, what you have to say to me is really important, but I was on the phone, or I was cooking something, or whatever. Can we hold this just for a little bit, because I want to really hear you. and I'll be ready to do that in a day or two or something like that.
Right.
So I love that approach. I think that's great.
Right. And I think it's important to put a time on it also, though, not just like one day,
Oh, yeah.
because
Yep.
you just don't want to keep that person hanging forever. Like what's,
Yeah,
what's going to happen
yeah.
here? What you decide though, what that looks like for you. Is it a week? Is it a month? And then follow through with your commitment to
Right.
to finish the conversation or start the conversation,
Right.
whatever that looks like for you. And then when the shoe's on the other foot,
Mm-hmm.
you need to be able to give space, and that's really hard to do sometimes
Mm-hmm.
when you are living your life with people.
Yeah, though, when you've got a friend who you love dearly,
Mm-hmm.
you can put yourself in their shoes. It's easier to do that. You can say, wow, I've been through hard things in my time, whatever. This matters to me.
Mm-hmm.
It really does matter to me to put, judgment aside, to put, shallow feelings aside,
Mm-hmm.
any of those types of things. So, yeah, I mean, when you value the friendship deeply, and this is a long-term thing for you, how worth it could it be to be considerate and give that time or ask those questions that are harder
Mm-hmm.
to ask?
Yeah.
I don't see how you could fail or go wrong with that.
Right. And I will tell you, once you get through this with someone, your relationship will be all that more strong.
Yeah.
Because
sure.
First of all, let's say that you needed a break from me, which
I don't.
You needed a break from me. And I was like, oh, of course I wouldn't like that at all. And you came back in the week or month and we had the conversation. I would feel like I knew that wasn't easy for her. And she really, really did the work because she cares about me.
Mm-hmm.
And she values our friendship enough to not just say, see ya.
Yeah. Or to just blurt out whatever, maybe in the heat of an emotion. If your emotions are running the show, you don't always say things don't always get said the way that you'd like them to be said, or with as much care and concern or love that you want them to. And just being able to be allowed to take that space, and the other person recognizing that, wow,
Mm-hmm.
she's thinking about what she wants to say, how she wants to say it, and taking the time to, I don't know, it sounds wonderful.
Right. So my challenge to all of you is to think of an important relationship in your life that you need to have this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It could be your spouse. It could be your sister.
How cool would that be, really,
right.
if you took this further?
Yeah.
I mean, I love that you just said that, because
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty awesome. You could use this with any relationship, I think, Brenda.
Right. So in the show notes, however you're listening or watching this, you can find, I will put the steps for the upfront contract. And I highly encourage you to have this conversation when things are going well with all the people that are important in your life, one-on-one.
Right. That's
right?
Awesome.
So that's what we have for you today.
I love it. Thank you. That was fantastic.
When three or more gather, we are tribe.